Welcome to Sonderlings, integrating Troika system. Let the bio ride begin.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Sonderlings, podcast where we talk about RPG things and try to play games. I don't know what I'm doing. It's Saturday night, and we're recording another episode for all of you beautiful beasties. Last time, you had completed your examination. Slimbinvin's Sleuthtastic Sneakorium was put to bed with Bapple Pie. And then we started with you going to talk to the head listener about the next step. You were given a pass on all of your courses. Basically, they decided that, hey, since you killed that final exam, you were ready to move on to the big stuff.
I'm so happy that happens in real life too. We're gonna send you on a trip, so we're gonna just cancel. You passed your exams. Why don't you go to France for a while?
Hey, listen, listeners, you wanted fantasy. We're giving you fantasy, okay?
We're giving you fantasy fresh out of the box. So, you were introduced to Rojak, the ridiculous ardent giant who was head of the, what was it, spherical navigation department, I believe. Mm-hmm. And they took you through all of the directives for your trip, which is basically like get people to come to the school, don't die, and map the spheres that we don't know about.
Right.
And then you were taken to the Golden Barge, where a certain somebody found their requested bit of kit from the head listener's desk, promptly smashed it, packaged it up for the head listener, and shipped it back to them. That doesn't have any bearing on today's episode, really, but I just felt like you needed to know that. Qui'th, Veighor, and Nimbus, the three of you have been on this golden sailed barge for a couple of days, getting reasonably comfortable in your quarters. The layout's pretty simple. You've got sort of the below decks area where you would, like, if you're thinking of a Pirates of the Caribbean style pirate ship, where the captain's quarters would be is actually just an open, like, dining, cooking, living area with a lot of windows.
Like a big open space kind of deal?
To let in sunlight. So that's like the common area. Below decks, with portholes for the windows on either side, there's two longer yet thinner rooms with a corridor down the center. And so there's one room that would just be for storage, or if you happen to pick up anybody on your travels that you want to bring along. And then the other three rooms can be occupied by you three. This barge, like I said, is not in the greatest repair. Definitely hasn't been well maintained or taken care of. It smells distinctly of tar because they continue to glop tar onto the thing instead of actually making good repairs.
Nice.
And there's just nests of rat lines. And not that they're really needed. There's also one thing that I didn't bring up in the last session that I wanted to go ahead and retcon and bring up now. In the center of this communal room, it's actually beneath this communal room, sort of where you would think of like the engine being in a more modern ship, right in front of where the rudder is. There is, in the very bottom, there's a giant pit of loam, of raw earth, that is fed by the waters of the humpbacked sky. I don't know if anybody else playing Troika says that there's waters, but I do, so it's canon now. These are not typical waters. These are humpbacked sky waters, so we'll figure out what they're made of later. But
Sort of like a
this
heavy
loam-
fog.
Sure.
I like
a
to think of them
heavy-
as an intergalactic goo.
This intergalactic goo sort of seeps into the loam and feeds the root system of a startlingly large tree, the trunk of which grows up through your common area, and then the canopy actually raises over the decks and provides almost like an aft sail. So you've got this tree canopy, and then you've got your sails in front of it. This tree is non-fruit bearing, but I would like the three of you to describe it in more detail for me. So who wants to take a crack at that?
So the bark of the tree looks almost like a dark green metal, kind of like biotite. If anyone out there is a mineral listener or lover, so yeah, kind of like a dark biotite.
If anyone out there is a
green,
mineral
metallic.
listener, if you're a listener and
Mineral
happen to be a
listener.
mineral, let us know, because we'd
It's like a
to know
horse
your
whisperer, but it's a
experience.
Then you're
mineral
in the right
listener.
place, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
You can whisper to horses, but you need to shut up when you're talking to minerals. Just listen.
And within the biotite matrix, the bark basically grow what appear to be kind of a deep red, almost like a garnet type stone, but very rough, not very sharp edges. They occasionally glow when the intergalactic goo is fed to the root system, so it does seem to provide it some sort of life essence, we would assume, as travelers. Obviously, I don't know a whole lot about it personally yet, but that has been the main observation that I've taken home with me.
Who's next?
I know because I've some of the ships in the Chaos Fleet use these trees. They have in the limbs. They'll drip like they'll start to grow roots from all the limbs and stuff. And I don't know if you've ever seen them. I can't remember if they're like bio trees or whatever.
Banyan trees.
But banyan trees. Thank you. And so the interesting part is these roots will grow really long. And so usually what ships do for an ongoing resource is you can continue to grow the root, and then you can cut it after a time, and you can weave it with other roots to make a rope like device. And so it's useful because your ship, you can use it for stitching the mast. You can use it to make actual like rope to hoist stuff. So it's really useful for the tree.
So like the tons of rat lines everywhere is because this is a really old ship and they've been doing that for a really long time, and they just haven't done anything with all this rope they made.
Yeah,
I like it.
Jacob.
Okay, well I'm gonna say that at the top of this tree is the crow's nest, and throughout the canopy there's all kinds of little nooks and crannies where different people would hang out. There's a lot of like little hollow places like in the crooks of branches and stuff where people would like put stuff, or like they would stash weapons or whatever, like all kinds of stuff all over this tree. Little bags hanging around in it and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
I will say too that the leaves are green, but they're almost like a mirrored green. And they seem to reflect and like change position a little bit and like gather the light from the humpback sky.
Heck yeah. So
little solar power?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, photosynthesis.
It's a tree-powered ship.
It's a tree-powered ship is essentially what we're saying.
That's awesome.
Now, Danny, my question for you is, does this ship have a name?
No, that was actually one of the things the three of you are going to have to christen it. Yeah. So we don't have to do that right now. I don't want to take that like long pause. But if anybody has ideas for names, throw them in.
I'm just glad that I brought some of that piss water with me from back at the Versity, because I think that would make the best christening liquid I could possibly imagine.
Yes, let's use it all christening the ship.
I got a big old jug. Don't worry.
as you're traveling, you're getting more situated into your cabin, and you're passing by spheres with decent regularity that would be at least nominally familiar to you. You know of them, you know that they exist. And one of the things that you're continually seeing are these big, you know how in Star Wars, when you go into hyperspace, all the stars just kind of warp past in these long lines?
Mm-hmm.
So it looks kind of like that coming past your ship, but slower. Actually, just think of like the title crawl at the beginning of the Star Wars movie, but sideways instead of vertically. And
Got it. Crystal clear.
These big white scrawls are all sorts of shades and colors, both perceptible and imperceptible to the human eye. And every single one of them is blasting the most annoyingly upbeat music, and they all read, "Come to Bar Diddley's spectacular traveling anti-derby plus and fulfill your wildest dreams," in parentheses, of watching races. These all seem to be emanating from a point that you're generally traveling toward. You know that Rojak advised you to try to start out at Bar Diddley's, and that Tiffany, the owner of Bar Diddley's, is an alumnus of the Versity. So, what are plans? What are you thinking? Do you want to abandon the Bar Diddley's idea and just scarper off wherever you want to go? What do we want to do? Because I am not going to tell you what you're going to do.
It's up to us. We captain our own ship.
Are we the only 3 people on the ship?
Important question, yeah.
Uh,
Please God, let there be help.
no, there's 4 because somebody has their toad.
That's true.
Other than that, yeah, you're alone. It's just
Oh no.
it's just Veighor.
And Veighor actually
Qui'th,
considers
Nimbus,
his
and the
hammer
toad.
a 5th team member. So
Okay.
So Qui'th is standing on the ship, and she is listening to this obnoxious noise that you mentioned coming from kind of all around and up ahead of us. And unlike, I assume, her companions, she is tapping and dancing right along to this beat. And looking over at Nimbus, who is kind of close by, she says, "Oh, honey, this reminds me just of the Dragonfly Chitters back on my homeland. I cannot wait to see this place." She's doing a little jig.
So I'm just staring back at you really straight-faced and holding a mop. And then all of a sudden, I like maintaining a completely straight face, like stick the mop out to one side, and then like march off dancing with the mop to the music.
I follow along in conga-like fashion.
Yes. What does the Chaos Champion think of this?
So I was rummaging through looking for a tarp and some paint, but as I hear the music, rumbling from outside, and then I hear you guys, chanting off, and then I see you dancing come around the corner. Well, of course I throw my shit down, and I get up, and I start moving over. I start grooving. I'm swinging around my hammer like it's a date. It's like I'm like dipping it and swinging it about. I give it a kiss.
And let's just say the ship starts like kind of listing off to one side because no one's paying any attention to like making it go somewhere.
Oh yeah.
This
Yeah,
ship
I mean, for
is-
reference, none of us have any experience being a Golden Barge pilot, I believe. So,
Right.
dancing
So-
is much more our forte.
I'll make a couple things clear. The ship is mildly psychic.
Nice.
So
Helpful.
and psychic, telepathic, like it
Vaguely
is basically,
sentient.
It's basically, it's not going to talk to you, but it's going to piece together all of your opinions about where you would like to go and then choose the one that it thinks is the most interesting. Unless
Wow.
acted upon by somebody in a piloting manner. So if
That is useful.
somebody
Okay.
directly gets to the helm and puts in, we're going there, if you're not really trying to take charge of this ship, it's going to kind of make up its own mind.
Nice.
So there is something Veighor is very interested in finding.
Mhm.
There are these we called them, what do we call them? We called them gamma fields, and
Mhm.
essentially they are bright bursts of radioactive energy that like litter the sky, kind of like fireworks, and it'll do that for a while while like chaotic energy is like undergoes kind of this chemical reaction. And the interesting part with that is short exposure to these gamma fields can result in, some physical illness, some fatigue, light sensitivity, hallucinations, but
ED.
long-term exposure, yeah, yep, some bowel movements as well. But long-term exposure can it makes you look kind of gaunt. You've got sunken eyes. The veins in your skin kind of turn black, and so you look a little horrific. You lose some of your hair, perhaps, but you can also get like extreme physical mutations, and you can get psychic attunement. And so chaos folk often seek out these gamma fields, hoping that they can survive them long enough to get some of these, well, what we would consider, great mutations.
Yeah, beautifications.
I'm starting to
Mhm.
have some regrets about befriending a chaos champion. People, I don't know about the rest of you.
I love how that ties into like Kakagen,
Yeah,
though.
Yeah.
it's fun.
I am writing down gamma fields on my notes because apparently that's a
Okay.
place that you're going to have to end up eventually.
You can also
So,
X-nay this, Danny, but I really want for Nimbus to have, or for me to have explored into the captain's cabin and found this like sort of expansion attachment in the control panel that is this autopilot feature. This semi-sentient autopilot feature is really old. Like the panels are kind of warped, all the stickers are peeling off, but one sticker that you can still read says Sonderlings Sonderlings sentient tour. Help me out here. Sonderlings
I'm not helping
Sentient
you.
Torglet.
You dig this grave for yourself.
Sonderlings tour mind, like TM.
I like that. I like that.
I will ixnay that. What
Boo.
you do find is exactly what you described. There's one sticker that you can read, and it says Sonderlings Legal Hive, TM.
I like it.
Sonderlings legal hive. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay.
Take from that what you will.
I'll just have to log that away.
So, what is on Qui'th and Nimbus's mind? Since none of you are actively piloting this vessel, I need to know the place that you're longing to go to, you're hoping to go to. Maybe it is, order of hierarchy. Maybe Bardiddles is the first thing. But maybe that isn't the first thing. What would the first and second things be?
So, Qui'th, before she found herself at the Versity, did spend a brief period of time aboard a pirate ship in which she actually met her two companions here. It's how we became friends in this vast school. Something I realize we probably haven't talked very much about. But so she hasn't really ventured too many places. She bargained her way onto the pirate ship in an effort to get closer to the Versity, to learn some more, like to gain some knowledge that her homeland really could not provide. So for her, she is really set on getting to Bardiddles. She wants to meet new people. I want to meet, see what's out there, see more of the universe now that I've got some knowledge under my belt. And from there, she's really willing to kind of to ride the wave as long as it doesn't put her or her toad companion in danger. However, since you did mention that there is a fourth member of the of the crew, which is my toad. So my
You're gonna
toad,
make me
who
regret
typically,
that, aren't you?
oh, I totally am, baby. My toad typically stays quiet as long as he is feeling hydrated and cared for, loved, and protected. But he did have quite a ride when we finally left the hometown, and he got a little vocal when we got on the open seas. As you can imagine, the humpbacked sky, being somewhat water-like, got him a little enthused. It was the most magical liquid he had ever seen. And out there on our ventures, he did briefly meet a glowgoo. They are kind of a wild creature that typically lives between. Oh, I'm doing it.
Burn in hell.
Glowgoo. Kind of a weird flying slug-like creature. Almost reminiscent of something you might see underwater. It has kind of these little tentacles that hang from it. It can fly and also swim within the intergalactic goo, the humpbacked sky itself. But it has these little tentacles, and at the bottom of them are basically some sort of a light source, hence the name glowgoo. They also have a line of eyes all down their torso, and they're a bit psychic. So my frog really enjoyed interacting with one of them that
How
we
big are
came
the
upon our travels.
glowgoo in relation to your toad?
They're relatively small. They're not like a human size. I'd say maybe at their largest, you might see one be about 2 feet long. So I mean, they can get kind of big. But they're like a medium-sized animal.
What do they eat?
Medium-sized animal. Oh, I couldn't tell you. I haven't spent too much time with them personally. They had a quick, brief romance. And unfortunately, the glowgoo's many-eyed psychic abilities led it to quickly realize that a long life with a toad was really not going to be something it would enjoy. So anyways, my toad is really hoping that he can find his way back to his long-lost love, Goolia. The glowgoo. Where she is, he does not know. But that is all he's been thinking about since he got back on the waters.
Oh, wow.
I'm writing a song on my banjo tomorrow about this romance.
Please write it. I will literally have a USB microphone interface in the mail this week for you if you want to record that yourself.
And in fact, while I am dancing around kind of in conga line fashion with Nimbus in front of me, Nimbus is able to hear a soft voice with a bit of a gruff tone coming from the top of my head that says, "Goolia, wherefore out there, Goolia? Water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. I'm so dry without you."
That's perfect because I've really been wanting for Nimbus to fixate on the toad in your hat. That seems very on brand for Nimbus. So I'm going to say that he kind of like is having trouble paying attention to dancing because this is the first time that he's noticed this living animal on your head. And now he's just absolutely fascinated and just wants to like feed it and touch it and stuff.
Oh, I love it. Nimbus, where are you feeling like you want to head? Moving on.
I think Nimbus is well, like Qui'th mentioned.
As a quick aside, I really hope that the ongoing romance, like the ongoing romantic narrative of our Troika story, is reuniting this toad with its long lost love across the galactic ocean that is the humpbacked sky. I hope that we can.
It's also his ex who who's actively like, I'm not interested.
Right.
So.
What if the toad's fixation on this is like almost messing up the ship because like we don't really know exactly where we want to go, but the toad is so fixated on wanting to go find Goolia that the ship can't really figure out. Like it keeps on steering off, going to look for these glow bugs.
We have to get the frog a little helmet to block its. Yeah, the glow goo.
We're
have to have like a Magneto helmet to get it to stop like
we figure this out and we're actively having to try to make the frog feel better, the toad feel better, to like keep it from messing up the ship's
I like
trajectory.
The
that
frog's
we've just
just there.
stopped playing
Yeah.
the game to talk about this.
This is
This
the
is
game, Danny.
important. Excuse me,
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking
This
about.
is important. This is the real campaign. This is the hill I will die on.
I don't know. Maybe
I'm
we should just
taping
let the
a light
toad.
bulb to a slug right now, just so you know. Okay.
The frog on my head is just slowly mumbling, "There's no force greater than my love for you, Goolia. No force greater."
The ship creaks and strains as it speeds up.
So
Okay,
I'm,
I would say, go ahead, Danny.
all right. Cool. Go for it. I just had to roll a die for a random check real quick.
Had to see if the ship could overpower his love.
See if the giant monster
that
that's
thing
going to
right
sweep down.
there.
I was going to say just to see if we notice the giant monster that's coming down to kill us all and end this campaign for fixating on Goolia.
Yeah. That's what it is. I'm gonna
So
start
I would
looking
say-
through the creatures in the book to see what I can find that'll kill all of you very
just
quickly.
last page, straight to the
Oh
last
no,
page.
it's right there. I'm excited.
I would say that Nimbus is getting really excited because, like Qui'th mentioned, they've found me on sort of a pirate smuggler ship. Who are the ones that gave me my non-elective zoanthropic surgery? So I'm having like a lot of weird memories coming back from that, like. Right in the healing process from that was the last time that I was on one of these ships. Like I was still healing when we got off to head into the school. So I'm having a lot of like a resurgence of a lot of memories, and like they're very all over the place. And so I'm really excited to be on the ship. I'm really excited to be headed somewhere. I'm thinking a lot about Bar Diddley's, trying to place it and remember where I know it from, but I don't think that I'm like hyper dead set on that. I'm just really excited about being on a ship and going somewhere and kind of trapped in my own head.
So you notice that the humpbacked sky is getting more humped.
Oh God.
It is
Check it out.
choppy. It is starting to actually get rough out here. Almost like there's a storm coming. No, it's not Gamma Fields. That's
Nice,
coming
good.
on
Whew.
later.
There are some other weather-like things
There
to be
are
on the
a
lookout
lot
for.
of other
so-
weather-like things to be on the lookout for. And this seems to be, like, I would say run-of-the-mill. It's a run-of-the-mill storm.
Seeing this storm kind of on the distance, Qui'th does have second sight.
Okay.
I like to think because of her toad's existence on her head and the integration they have with each other.
Goolia.
Can you
But
harness
so-
that while he's fixated on Goolia, though?
No.
I can try my
you
best.
can't use it.
We'll see how it happens. We'll see how it happens. The dice will tell us.
The dice will
So
tell us.
I go to pet my toad just a little bit, and then with a little bit of I pop him off the top of my head, and I go, I know you're upset about your love, honey, but could you take a gander at that storm up ahead and tell me if it looks magical at all? And he does a little flick of his tongue in the air, and I'm gonna roll for second sight to see if
Cool.
I can detect any magic. So I got a 7, and that is technically a roll against, correct?
It's a
Is
roll
that
under.
a roll under? Roll under. So I
Mhm.
have a 6, so I did not succeed.
No.
But I get to check it. Get to fit a check mark.
You get to put a tick next to it to maybe test it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he's upset about Goolia, okay? It's not my fault.
he is. Yeah, you
You
don't
see
know if
one
the
tiny
storm...
toad tear fall from his face, and he hops back on my head.
And let's clarify, these are not crocodile tears.
No.
That was horrible, Danny. Shut up.
Yeah, it was.
We'll cut that out in
So-
post.
No, we won't. I'm leaving it in there. Everybody can know how much of an idiot I am. That's fine. So it's getting choppier and choppier out here. Everything's getting crazier. And your ship decided to make an executive decision and beeline straight for Bar Diddley's. It is basically the nearest port in a storm, and this storm is whipping up something fierce. So right as things are starting to get really bad, you kind of crest over one of these big, giant hillocks in the humpbacked sky, and you see in front of you Bar Diddley's spectacular traveling anti-derby. Plus.
Lovely. Perfect timing.
So, I'm going to read... So, just a quick note for all of you listeners out there. Bar Diddley's is actually straight from the mind of Jacob. He created this. It's his weird brain that has given birth to it. So, I actually wanted to read his description the way that he wrote it to kind of do that justice. So, from the outside, it's bright lime green and shaped somewhat like two enormous dinner plates sandwiched together. When
Love
not
it.
in travel, which is how you're going to see it right now, the outermost edge opens and folds out into docking bays and partitioned tailgating marinas. Two gravity anchors extend on cables, one above and one below the stadium, both artistically covered in mirrored solar panels. The result is the impression of two huge disco balls bathing the surrounding area in shimmering light reflected from the crystal spheres. Bar Diddley's spectacular traveling anti-derby plus is projected in huge letters above the stadium and on the surface of all nearby spheres. Loudspeakers play contemporary upbeat music punctuated by announcements about the track, the contestants, honorable guests in attendance, and special discounts in the memorabilia shops and restaurants. So that's
I'm
Bar
gonna wipe this
Diddley's.
tear. That was beautiful.
Yeah, that was so gorgeous. What excellent prose. So you are pulling up to dock at Bar Diddley's. Since this is sort of a tourist attraction, there's no docking fee. They want to get you in so that you spend money on the station. And so you're able to dock without much hassle whatsoever. It's a commonly traveled area. A lot of different types of people are there. You look to the left and, you can see what appears to be a paper witch in disguise. You look in front of you and there's a pack of poorly made dwarves all sort of tittering about this one shop in the bazaar. You look over to the right and there's a small murder of Kakajin. And there's just all these creatures and beings all over the place. You do see it is like weirdly not crowded. You've come early in the cycle, so there's typically a race cycle, and it'll end in the highlight races that are the big draws, and that's when most of your wealthier people will be there to bet on those races. So you've come kind of on a Monday, basically, in our terms. And over the course of several days, the races will increase in stakes. They'll increase in popularity, so you'll get the more popular racers racing later on in the week. So there aren't a ton of people, but all the store owners are there. All the shops are open, and there's good foot traffic because, to be honest, these are the days when normal people can come and have fun. It's not going to cost an arm and a leg. One of the crazy things about Bar Diddley's that the three of you would know is these are these crazy races around this spherical track. It's a circular track, and there's a bunch of contestants racing on it. Each contestant has their own lane. And there's betting on these races as to who will win and who will lose, all that stuff. But the other thing you can do is you can buy obstructions in the race, and you can place them anywhere from half a track to a full track ahead of, or a full ring, ahead of the racer. So you can buy a big set of thorny bushes to put in front of one of the ones that you don't want to win because you're betting on this guy. Or you can buy, a cinder block wall to put in front of another racer. And earlier in the week, those things are a couple of silver a piece. For the big highlight races, the prices get jacked up enormously. So basically, if you don't have a ton of money, you're just coming to watch it. Because only the high rollers can afford to put obstructions in front of racers. And it's this crazy cool concept that Jacob completely came up with. If you are interested in all the nuances of Bar Diddley's, eventually we're going to be publishing something that will contain it. So keep a lookout for that. You are entering kind of the main concourse, as it were. You see a bunch of merchants in front of you. The ship that you're sailing may or may not have Troika U emblazoned on the side of it in a giant advertising banner, which might tell people that you're from the Versity. So you see a short, spherical, middle-aged woman with ankle-length braided mohawk of fluorescent green hair, streaking with the first lines of gray, sauntering towards you. This is Tiffany Bar Diddley, the owner and creator of Bar Diddley's spectacular Traveling Anti-Derby Plus. She is fiery, to say the least. There's a bunch of rumors about her, most of which you assume are true just because everybody seems to be mildly terrified of her, but in a, we're friends with her and we're really nice to her because we know if we're not, she's going to gut us like a fish. Real weird. And that stereotype of her is kind of... It's emboldened by the fact that she always has a gold and jewel-studded switchblade stiletto prominently worn. It's either hooked on the outside of her left boot, or she sometimes slips it through the garter belt she wears for that sole purpose. I'm just pirating
Hot
this
and dangerous.
straight from Jacob's notes. Just straight
Veighor.
stealing it.
Veighor was letting down the sails, right? Because we've docked. But he sees this foxy, dangerous woman, and he is in love. He lets the rope go slack in his hand as he braces himself against the side of the ship before collecting himself, standing a little straighter, searching around for his hammer because he wants to look impressive. Finds it leaning and puts it in the strap across his back. And then he kind of just leans, picking at his nails, trying to look very suave.
I will say Nimbus has a realization and his eyes go really wide and he runs up to Veighor and grabs him and says, "Hey, don't fight here. Do not fight here. Very bad. Don't fight." Okay.
You're
and then I pat you on the
cramping my
back.
style.
And then I shuffle away. But as I go, I'm like, "Don't fight. No fighting."
Qui'th has a strongly raised eyebrow at Nimbus's random statement. It is a rarity that our friend Nimbus has memories, and the fact that he recalls fighting happening here and it being a bad thing is a little suspect. She makes a mental note to ask him later about that.
Who is jingling keys?
Oh, for clarification, that's my small fur child behind me who
okay.
continuously is trying to fight my other fur child who's sitting on a perch right here, and they're trying to knock down my backdrop. So if that happens, sorry.
Tiffany just stomps right on up the gangplank onto your ship and is just this gigantic grin has split her face, just a big old gap-toothed grin, and she just bellows, Well, Zed, I ain't seen you in Oh my God, what in the hell happened to you?
And I look behind me, and then I look back at her, and then I point to myself. Me?
I'm sorry. You can see she blushes as you just caught her staring at the scar on your forehead. And she kind of starts verbally backpedaling. I'm sorry. I must have had you confused for somebody else. I
Oh,
thought you were my old friend Zed.
Don't start apologizing on our ship. He might be. And I put my arm around my friend Nimbus and I say, he goes by Nimbus these days, at least.
Well, Nimbus, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Tiffany. This here's my establishment. Who are these other fine people? I see you. You've got a toad companion. Of course, y'all are welcome on this ship. And well, this sultry drink of water here. Is that a mall?
Oh,
you
me,
got there, Sunshine?
this little old thing. Well, it's been known to crack a few skulls from time to time.
Not
But,
here, though.
you
I'd
know,
thank
not
you
here,
kindly if
though.
you didn't crack skulls on my station. My hospitality can only extend so far. Of course, that is unless somebody else is cracking yours first. Of course, defend yourself, but nobody will be doing that here. And I mean it. Nobody cracks skulls on my station.
Nimbus
hey,
is just
when you're in
nodding.
Mama's house, it's Mama's rules. So I'm
Ooh.
fine. I'll keep this
Calling
right
Mama.
here.
You sure know how to sugar up a lady. So what brings you fine folks so far from the versity? Usually, that old bat Nalthus doesn't let any of his students out of his sight.
Well, we got
Nimbus.
called out here to do a little bit of recruiting. As you've heard, numbers are going down a little bit, and they figured us, having just passed the last of our courses, with flying colors, may I add, would be good ones to send out here and show a little bit of the versity's hospitality.
Nimbus has like ducked and covered and gotten kind of almost back in the shadows. He's trying to still look like he's a part of the conversation, but he very obviously does not want to be part of this conversation.
Well, I think it's just great that y'all are from the versity. And, some of my best days were there. I pioneered the keg flip out there. Most people would think it's where you do a flip over the keg. But no, that's where you flip the keg over your head while you chug the whole thing. And then you gotta chuck it up in the air once it's empty and swing for the fences. Now,
Well, that
y'all
sounds
make
like something
yourselves
right
at
up Veighor's alley right here. And I pat my companion on the back, giving him a little sly wink.
Now, y'all make
You
yourselves
know,
at home.
speaking of,
Uh-oh. I was gonna do my
I was
speech, but
just
you
saying.
go ahead.
I wouldn't want to interrupt, of course, but now that you do mention a keg, I am quite thirsty. Perhaps we could get a drink while my companions secure up the rest of the ship. You could give me a tour of your lovely establishment.
Well, I don't much give tours these days. Got a little bit too much business. How about this? Y'all take a tour, figure out where everything is, see if you can't convince some poor sods to go back to that school that all of us know is a mistake. And and y'all find me when you're done, and we'll see if we can't rustle up a drink together. Because I got some business I gotta go attend to. The next race is starting shortly, and well, I gotta make sure that it goes off fine. It's early in the week. I let my employees get some rest and I run it when we don't need too many people here.
Best of luck, honey, and don't be a stranger. We'll be around, at least for a little bit.
And she winks at all three of you in a very sultry manner and
Oh.
then turns and sachets away. Just happy and bubbly and menacingly through the crowd, and you notice everybody just parts for her. It's like that scene in The Princess Bride where Andre the Giant is like, everybody move, and everybody just goes, whoa, and gets out of the way. And so she sachets off, and you are left.
Saunters off. I want to lean over to Veighor, and I whisper while trying to fan out my stinky sackcloth robes a little bit. Oh, that little vixen's got me sweating hotter than a sinner on a lily pad. Am I the only one? Whoo!
I wouldn't mind going marauding with her. That's all I'm saying.
And I look over at Nimbus and I say, so you know her though? How have y'all been well acquainted in the past? If you know what I'm saying.
Yes, what's still rattling up in that brain of yours?
I say, yeah, Tiff's nice. That was her name, right?
Oh God. I
went
give
by
like
Tiffany.
a soft half smile. I believe so, honey.
Okay. Don't fight. And then I just mop. I'm like mopping my way kind of off back into the shadows.
At this point, the three of you can explore the station as much as you want. You know that the first race is starting in probably about an hour, and it'll be going for a little while. She probably won't be able to meet up with you for 3-ish hours. So you've got some time to go kind of figure out what's going on. And I want to know what you're interested in doing. Do you all want to go somewhere? Do you want to split up? How do we want to handle this?
Well,
So-
given that Nimbus has said that fighting, he's been implying that fighting can get somebody in some trouble. This lady seems a little suspect, perhaps. My character, Qui'th, obviously thinks we should stick together. I'm not super picky on what we do, but I would like to maybe check out, some of the marketplace and see what's going on. See if there's maybe a gamble we could drop. Maybe earn some extra silver. Something like that.
So I agree. I'd like to turn this 5 pence into 15 or 20.
I'm just a broke little lady from the bog, but I mean, if there's a winning to be had.
Well, I think that there's something to be done as I look over the side of the ship about this. And I gesture at this big, my character kind of looks at our ship right now like we're driving the Wienermobile, and I can't have that. As I look around
It's
the
cramping
rigging
your
and the
style.
deck, it really doesn't look chaotic enough for me, but I can't get the things I need on 5 pence.
We
So
need some
I've got to get
skulls
some.
here, and we need some bones over there, and blood everywhere.
Mhm.
More red.
See, what Veighor is thinking as he looks at his companions, one innocently mopping, another kind of a little awestruck at the lights and dazzling features, is that this is a comfortable place. And although it might be dangerous a little bit, it doesn't have that dark, seedy, extreme danger of the true depths of the humpbacked sky. And you can't be sailing around in a vessel like this there, because all that says is come plunder me. So if we're going to travel farther, Veighor's got to deck this ship outright.
Get it? Deck the ship. Ah! I think that that's a fantastic idea. So we would like to bet on the races.
Well, yeah. So as I'm talking this over with Veighor, I glance over and I notice that Nimbus is still mopping and seems a little uncomfortable. So I want to kind of I walk over and I say, Nimbus, honey, is something wrong? You seem like you remember something from being around here. Did something bad happen? Before we go exploring and, well, as I glance back at Veighor, betting maybe some of the last of our money, figured you might be able to tell us a little bit more. I don't know.
So Nimbus just like perks right up and he's like, betting? Betting? And he drops the mop and runs down into the cabin and comes back out wearing his new shoes that he was given by the head listener, and has kind of brushed his shoulders off a little bit and is ready to go.
New socks.
But you look You look fabulous.
What's
Yeah,
that?
You
New
got your
socks,
gambling
not
socks
shoes,
on?
right?
Oh no. Well, you said they're like sock shoes, right?
They're
But they are
booties.
socks. Yeah.
Little booties.
Mhm.
Okay.
They got a little
booties.
sole
Got
on the
his
bottom.
He's got this new booties on.
Are these your gambling socks, honey? Or are you still on the lookout for a better pair?
I don't
Dice
know
on
yet.
them?
Yeah, are there dice on them? Can we find better ones? We'll see.
I don't know yet. Let's go find out.
Next episode, the search for dice socks.
This is called Real Priorities Team, okay?
Absolutely.
Goolia, dice socks, in that order.
For those of you listening, if you're wondering if we're ever going to do anything important on this podcast, the answer is an astounding no. It's just going to be a
Behind
bunch
the
of us
screen world
meandering
building
around
stuff is-
being real
Come
dumb.
That's called having a good time. Okay.
Yeah. We're just here to have a good time. All right, so the three of you make your way onto the concourse, and you can see pretty quickly where the betting areas are, where the food vendors are, where the kind of like bric-a-brac vendors are. There's all sorts of things to buy. And as you move towards the betting area, you notice there's a weird hole cut in the wall of this station. And it looks jagged. The edges are safe. They're not sharp, but it looks like somebody just kind of sawed this hole open and then tried to make the edges smooth. And you can see a very dimly lit shop inside that's just piled high with all the weirdness in the world. And it's like this weird little thing. And inside the shop, you see is a Qui'th, which is basically a 6-armed crustacean.
Okay.
And I don't think that two of you are familiar with the Qui'th.
Seen anything like that before in my life. What is that?
Fantastic news. One of you will be. And so the shop's very, very clean and tidy, but it is just tons of weirdness. And you can see them just kind of standing there, templed fingers, politely waiting out front of their shop. And as you're walking by, you can see the eyes of this creature on their two protuberant stalks sort of travel down and fixate for a brief moment on Nimbus's socks.
Does Nimbus notice this?
I feel like if any creature in the entirety of the spheres, both known and unknown in Troika, would pick up on another creature lusting after their socks, it would be Nimbus.
Yeah, that feels right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, real quick. As we like left our ship and we're walking around the bazaar and then walking, around the track and stuff, how does everyone like hold themselves as walking amongst people? Because I know, Qui'th, you're from, I assume, a remote or relatively unpopulated swamp. And then Nimbus, I'm not sure how you interact in large groups. Are you completely comfortable like a dog at a park and you're like, oh, look at all these people? Or is it something where you're like, ooh, this is too many people? And,
Nervous. Yeah.
me, I try and I saunter about. I'm very comfortable in large crowds. And I look at, I start calculating and identifying who's potential prey and who's a potential threat. That's kind of how I go around, and I'm looking for a schmuck. I'm looking for someone who's clearly got too much money and a lot to lose.
Okay.
So I'm sauntering about trying to, I got one hand on my hammer handle. I just got it, slung across my back casually. My muddy boots are unlaced, and I'm just sauntering back and forth. I kind of eye people up and down, a wink, and click at them.
Well, Qui'th, despite coming from, yes, a relatively remote sphere, swamp-like bog environment, I minister mostly to sentient, obviously, humanoid, insect-like creatures. Anthropomorphic is probably the better word to use there. Dragonflies, gnats, and the like. So I'm used to interacting with weird things. Obviously, I also talk to a sassy little frog on my head. So the weirdness of the people that we're seeing doesn't really take me by surprise, and I've spent some time at the Versity. But mostly, Qui'th is walking around with a real look of wonder on her face. Most of the things that she has studied or is knowledgeable about here are things she's only really seen in books. She hasn't really been able to touch or viscerally experience a lot of things in the spheres herself yet. She went to the Versity to learn about them. So going through this bazaar and everything, she is stopping at every single stand, touching as much as she can, getting yelled at a little bit. Keep your paws off that. Oh, I'm so sorry, honey. Relatively often, Veighor has to stop and go, Qui'th, come on, we need to keep moving. She's trying to hold on to her coins, but everything is blowing her mind right now. So she seems relatively comfortable, but she's mostly just constantly distracted by the items on all of the little stands and everything. So.
That's
I would
great.
say
I
that
love it.
I would say that probably one of the things that Veighor likes about Nimbus is that in large crowds is when Nimbus's propensity towards thievery and manipulation kick in. So
Ooh,
he's
yeah.
not necessarily trying to pick every pocket he walks by, but he definitely kind of acts the doe-eyed, sort of like a really personable 5-year-old child in a crowd, like going to wave at anyone that makes eye contact, and very, very earnest. But Veighor knows that the wheels are turning, and I'm in it for something, right?
Yeah, I help you out a little bit with that because we pass a little kiosk and I see that the person's eyeing, making sure nothing gets stolen, but then I engage him bombastically with a conversation. Oh, I haven't seen one of your kind in so long. Wow, quite the specimen. Business good? As you kind of stroll past a rack and slip one of the loose whatever cards into your pocket or a little piece of that or a
right
little
now,
string.
Nimbus?
No, not right now.
He's fondling items as he walks
No,
past.
this
and
is
he hasn't
collective
pocketed
world
them yet.
building. So yeah, this is collective world building. So I'm just going to tell you what I stole when we get back to the ship. No, wait, I can't do that. Can
You have to roll for it. You have to roll for it.
No, but
Now,
I'm
what I will
totally
do-
empowering
What I will
him
do
stealing.
is
So
I will let
yeah.
you roll for it, and if you succeed, you can tell me what you stole at another time
Okay.
with the provision that if it's just too outrageous, it's a no.
Right.
I feel like this whole episode is full of Danny making choices as the game master that he's just gonna regret later.
Oh,
And I love it.
absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah, that's what
No.
it is. I'm just
I
giving
will
you
s-
presents.
I will say that at this time, Nimbus's hands in pockets because of he seems to be having a lot going on as far as this location goes, and Tiffany and the whole
Right.
don't fight thing and all that kind of stuff. I would like to also add though with Veighor and Nimbus's dynamic that it would be cool if we do good cop bad cop too, kind of with people where you come on heavy and then I'm being super sweet and just frazzle people.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got a con where you go over and you're really friendly, and then I come over like an angry father, and I'm like, "Is he bothering you? I told you not to." And I lightly smack you, and I get them to pity, you, and then they'll often give you stuff like, "He's just hungry. I told him we'd eat later." And then they're like, "Oh, you could have some of it. We've got some extra."
Oh yeah, that's absolutely happening.
Yeah, Qui'th would normally be attempting to keep them in check, but unfortunately she's too busy getting yelled at for touching a bobbit with her nasty mud hands and getting it dirty on somebody's stand. So she's busy.
She's real busy.
Yeah.
So I will say
So-
that after noticing this Keek, eyeballing my boots or my socks, and
Yes.
knowing that I have another pair on the ship, because I did get 2 pair,
You got 4 pairs.
I lean up. I got 4 pair.
There were
Oh, man.
4 different pairs of just bombastically colored booties.
You're
Okay.
rolling in booties, bro. You got so many booties.
Rolling in booties. It's Nimbus.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna lean over to Veighor and just say, follow my lead, be nice, and then just sort of cut over and veer into the shop where the Keekly is standing in the doorway.
I give you a good 20-second lead to establish before I follow.
Okay. Now is this shop, is it a booth or is it like an indoor shop? You said he was standing in the doorway, right?
Yeah, this is that. You remember that doorway I described that was kind of cut into the wall of the
Okay.
station? That's where this Keek is.
Okay.
And as you walk up, it kind of bows towards you, rubbing 2 sets of hands together, and 2 of the other hands are extended out towards you in a greeting, and it's in a very chittering, crustaceous voice, which I'm not going to try to do, so don't come at me for that.
Come on.
No, I'm not doing it. Greetings, Z358. It's a pleasure to see you again.
Greetings, I say.
It appears you've had some minor cosmetic surgery. May I inquire as to the reason for this?
I can't remember.
Oh, it's not cosmetic.
My brain, and I tap my head.
Oh, well, you have my apologies. I seem to have touched upon a sore subject. You
Oh no, it healed a
don't-
long time ago.
Oh, well, that's a relief. You don't seem to remember me, but at one time we were friends, I think would be the correct word. And you did me a great favor. So I'd like to bring you into my shop. I need to return the favor, at least in some small part at this moment. And maybe there's something that you're interested in trading for. And so I'd like you to come take a look.
I wave my hand and say, no favors, but I would like to look around.
Well, come along. You know, you're always welcome in my shop. And it kind of turns around to lead you into the shop, and it scurries back towards the back. And you can hear it call as it runs towards the back. Take a look around. Try not to mess anything up. If the swamp creature is with you and the chaos lord is with you, please don't let them touch and or break or mangle things while I have to go get this. And you see
I
it
say,
like
they're my
scurry
friends.
away. And it grabs something, which I literally had to scurry away and grab for those of you listening at home.
You had a crab walk away?
No crab walk.
We can't tell the people just listening that he did though. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Super
totally
crab
crab
walk.
walked.
He's got all
I
6
just
arms
like his
waving
crab
around.
costume.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually rented a crab costume for this episode. Too bad you're not watching.
I know, it's pretty realistic.
There's not like a
So,
SpongeBob copyright on that? Never mind. Go ahead.
You're looking around this
There's
shop.
a clause in the contract.
So we're getting close to end of episode time. So I'm going to give you homework for next week before we hit the last beats of this episode. And your homework is, I want to know a couple of items that each one of you sees in this shop that you're interested in. Brief bit about the Keek is they don't buy or sell goods. They will only barter. A Keek's shop is less of a store as you would think, and more of a memoriam to the things that they love. And so there is no theme to the contents of this shop except for the Keek running it. They're the
And I'm assuming
only-
it's not really hoarder-esque because he does like really appreciate his items, so they're probably like displayed well, I would assume.
Yeah, so it's
like,
very
easy to
neat.
navigate.
It's very well kept. Think of it like clean cluttered. You know those movies where they show like they've got to go to this specialist's house and the specialist has just like stacks of books everywhere. It's like that because the books are always very well organized and very well kept, but there's just so many of them that they're stacked on the staircase and they're stacked on the side table, and you have to move a stack of books off of this chair to sit on it. So there's just weird, wonky items everywhere.
All right.
So as for the etiquette of how to deal with the Keek, that's something that I'm going to let all of you figure out on your own. Jacob created them, so he is going to have a heads up on that, but he's playing somebody who had part of his brain removed. So how much help will he be? So that's your homework for next week, is to come up with a couple of items, however many that you want, that are here in this shop that you're really interested in. And this is what you're seeing as you look around. And then you hear a little clattering noise as the Keek comes scrambling back towards the front. Friend Zed, I seem to have found the first in what will hopefully only be a couple of payments in trying to return the favor that you paid me at one point in time.
I'm just waving my hand like, no favors, no favors.
Yeah, but
Am I around? If I've heard this, I would not let him do that.
What?
You said you were giving
Oh,
him
you wouldn't
a
let me do that?
20-second
Oh yeah,
lead.
no. If someone's trying to give you something, yeah.
Yeah. So you're in the shop. You're doing Veighor things, I assume.
Staring down the hilt of his giant maul,
Yeah.
caressing
When
it
I
slightly.
hear Nimbus refuse something free, I turn on my heels. Well, don't be so modest, my boy. If your friend, he says he's your friend, is trying to give you a gift, it would be rude, as I kind of sling an arm over Nimbus, for you to not accept, of course. What is this gift that you're offering?
Well,
I'm like nudging you and like throwing you winks, like but like super subtle. But I'm like, he probably did me the favor.
Well, I will say this. I know that things aren't always easy out there amongst the spheres and in the humpback sky. So I wanted to give you something useful that would help you on your travels, and hopefully as you go out and you get up to all the adventures that I know you're always getting up to, you'll remember me and bring me interesting and fun artifacts to trade so that we can keep the inventory in my shop moving. And with that, he holds out his hands and presents a battered leather fanny pack.
It's so good.
Happy about this.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And he smiles. If you're lucky, it's rumored that this pack sometimes takes voice and will help you out in your time of need. I hope you enjoy the pack. It seems to have a name. It's etched right here on the back. It says Ferdinandrew. So hopefully it'll be helpful. So, do you take it?
So as this exchange is happening, Qui'th has finally meandered her way over to the opening. And she sees this exchange going on, and from behind you all, from still the opening kind of to the shop, you hear her exclaim, "Oh, a Ferdinand bag, that must be a nice one." with a bit of a smile.
I'm going to lean forward in typical Nimbus fashion and introduce myself to this bag. And say, "It's very nice to meet you, Ferdinandro." And then I'm going to look up at the shopkeeper and say, "Are you sure? Are you sure?"
Oh, I'm absolutely sure. Yeah, I'm absolutely sure.
You hear that? He's
kind of
sure.
has to
He's sure.
happen.
Here, I'll help you put it on.
I'm walking a little bit closer as this happens and taking a gander at this you said it was a bit of an old bag. I get a little closer, squint my eyes a bit, and say, "Oh, that leather just needs a little bit of rehydration. We can figure that out once we find a room later. I got plenty of supplies."
No, so I say, "Well, what do you like, Merchant Keek?"
Well, usually I don't really know until I see it. But I'm very, very interested in I mean, there's no way that you'd ever, but if you do, I mean, you won't. But maybe.
You're a sweetheart. Just spit it out. Tell me what you need. Sure, we'd be happy to help.
So I've heard that gamma dust is like really beautiful when you collect a lot of it and you compress it into crystals. So if you take the gamma dust, there's a process that you can grow it into trees, limbs, branches, structures of some variety, and I don't know. You'll never find any, but if you do, maybe remember that I'm interested.
Is this sweetheart talking about our tree, our ship? With a bit of a confused
I think
expression.
as I put my my thumbs in the loops of my belt, I think what our man here is saying is he's interested in gamma fields.
I
The
mean,
dust in particular.
They're incredibly
of course.
dangerous. They're so dangerous.
Dangerous.
If you happen to find yourself in one by sheer accident and happen to have the right gear to collect the dust and happen to find the really, really difficult recipe for how to take the dust and grow it the way that it needs to be grown and tended lovingly, and you grow something, I mean, that would just be swell.
So I'm
Are
like,
you saying that this bag can hold gamma dust?
I mean, I certainly wouldn't give you a gift that would help me achieve my ends. That wouldn't be loving, nice, kind of me.
I think you and I will be good friends.
So
Now,
I-
I've never heard of growing the dust. Usually we just snorted it up. But I'll put some in this bag when I find it.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
Qui'th puts her arm on Veighor's side, kind of props herself up, and says, "Well, honey, if you're looking for somebody who's an expert in growing stuff, look no further." And she points directly at the top of her head. And upon closer inspection, you all are able to tell, if you haven't ever really looked closer, that it seems almost like there are like a fungal kind of spore growth kind of thing happening right on the top of her skull. Underneath some of these cloth things. So it looks like she's got some plant life straight up growing out of her. You think she might know what she's doing.
I feel like when you pointed out, the frog kind of like sees everyone looking and kind of moves slightly out of the way and then kind of presents it. Like there it is.
Vanna White style.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, this kick is still holding the bag out to you,
Oh.
Nimbus. And
So
every time Veighor has reached for it, he has taken. So he's holding it with two hands, and every time Veighor has come close to touching it, his other four hands are just smacking his hand away. Just like, no.
Michael, just touch it. No,
No.
I would hold it for him, of course.
No. And like,
So
there gets a point where he's just got like, 2 of his hands are holding the bag. 2 of his hands are just like grabbing you by the pinkies and bending them back and keeping your hands away, while the other 2 hands like play more defense to swat your hands out of the way.
So I'm just like very, very, very thankful and like thanking him profusely and like gingerly take the bag and then just, is the clasp done or undone on the belt of the bag?
The clasp is done.
Okay, so I just Okay, so I just like immediately hang it around my neck and like put it on top of my jacket, like where it's like right there.
Yeah.
Nice.
There. Okay, we're good. Oh, I like rubbing my joints. Ooh. Okay.
Yes.
See, that's as easy as gift giving gets.
Yes. Thank you so much for accepting it.
What'd you say your name was, honey? I don't think I caught it. I was a bit distracted out there at that marketplace. I've never seen anything like it.
I'm Keek.
Your full name is just Keek? All right. Beautiful.
Keek.
I love it.
So I say thank you for letting us browse. Thank you. You have a beautiful shop. We're gonna go and look around some more, but thank you so much. And I'm kind of like let's go.
Cool.
Like
When
dropping
we're
big hints.
outside, I follow your lead, and when we're outside, I say, Nimby, you just know everyone interesting.
And as you say that, you hear a voice. Well, I'm not sure why you keep calling him Nimby. This is Zed.
God.
And you bet your sweet ass he knows everybody interesting. And that's where we're going to call it. Can I tell all of you how absolutely horrifically hard it was to not let it slip that Ferdinandrew is across all boundaries and will show up in every campaign I run till my dying day.
He is the universal character.
I'm really happy that we all it was like a collective laugh groan from everybody because we've all experienced Ferdinandrew.
And
Beautiful.
that's why
he's even named his
show
cat.
up.
He's named his cat after this bag. Okay, team?
No.
Like his real life cat.
No.
No?
No, that's the other one. That's
Archie.
That's Archibald.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, no. The
god.
cat is named after one of Ferdinandrew's old companions, the magnificent arch-thalamenting Slew the 53rd.
I'm going to warn you ahead of time. Nimbus is going to need to know what that toad's name is because he loves that toad.
Yeah.
You're going to have to befriend it. I'm excited to do more voiceover for it. It's going to be delightful.
Yes, because doing one character voice wasn't enough. Welcome to my world.
Got to keep it fresh.
Also, we just went an entire session without rolling any dice.
I roll dice. I just
Is that an accomplishment or is it not an accomplishment?
Sorry, we went an entire session with one roll. Listeners
you rolled.
at home, tell us if you like that or not.
Yeah.
Tell us what you think. I had a blast. I think that was amazing. That was super fun.
I mean, that's one of the perks of something like Troika, right? And a lot of these newer RPGs that we've kind of been looking at is that they do allow for a lot more storytelling, and you don't get so bogged down in mechanics. So I'm not so mad about it.
Yeah, I think it's a good example of not always needing combat as well. I feel like there's this, especially for people who haven't played too much RPG material or who maybe only have one play group. I think a lot of people that I've come in contact with, they feel this inherent need for every session to have at least one combat. And sometimes that's because people at the table really enjoy it. And so obviously it makes sense. But I've played with plenty of play groups where we might not have combat for, 3 sessions in a row. Right. And then we have, a battle or something.
Do we want to go over our inspo stuff?
Yes.
What's been
and
inspiring
I want to kick it off because I'm actually prepared for the first time. And I'd like to address something in previous episodes. In every episode up to this one, the inspiration part of the podcast, if you're watching this on YouTube, has involved me doing this the entire time. And you're seeing a lot of this part of my head. Because I always forget to bring inspiration because I'm busy doing campaign prep and I'm busy doing all these things. But Jacob reminded us tonight, and so I'm kicking it off with a super awesome Instagram account. My buddy Wes is legends_illustrated on Instagram. And so this is what you read when you look at his Instagram. It's RPG inspired fantasy and creature concept art. So this dude, this is where it gets crazy. This dude's a herpetologist and just all around swamp stomper, crazy, outdoorsy, beautiful human being, and I love him to death. This guy has literally been published for his artistic renderings of prehistoric animals. Like,
Very cool.
literally, this guy's awesome. He's been published in several different books of art. He's super talented artist, and he's been playing D&D a lot over the last few years. And so all he's doing, like when he's in session, is doing all these doodles and sketches, and then he does these super badass pieces, which you should absolutely go find his Instagram, legends_illustrated, and follow him and check out his stuff. He has been doing a run on dragons lately, and it's super crazy because he's been bringing in a lot of his like realistic animal drawing, like creature drawing, especially reptiles, into doing dragons. So they're these big, majestic, but super like anatomically correct looking dragons. And it's really fun. So check out his work, please.
Yeah, I just hit follow on him.
Isn't his stuff so
Legends_illustrated.
good?
Oh my gosh, dude. I am obsessed.
Yeah.
Go ahead and get those
I
follows.
love this stuff.
Yeah, he's really, really good.
Okay, so I guess I can go next if we're talking inspiration stuff. So one, I want to go ahead and drop, first and foremost, I got to mention it because it was inspiration for Goolia this episode, is Studio Jeans at your mom's house has been getting me through quarantine. Less fantasy related, but more just like hilarious content and silly voices and stuff. A lot of what they do is just like digging out crazy, random, deep internet clips and like making fun of them. So it was like a direct kind of call out to my other jeans out there keeping it high and tight. Other than that, I want to give a shout out to actually a family member who I can't believe I haven't plugged sooner because she's an amazing illustrator, Jessie Sattler, who's my cousin. Yeah, she's fantastic. You all follow me on Instagram in this window, obviously in Sonderlings, so you've already seen it, but she did a really awesome illustration of me randomly, which was really cool. Holding the sword
Instagram?
that our game master gave me. Her Instagram
I was wondering who did that, where you got that.
It's my cousin, yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's at Jessie Sattler, JESSIE on Instagram. She actually used to work for Tiny Bop out of New York City, so she's actually helped produce a lot of their like instructional websites and stuff, interactive, kind of illustrated web pages and apps that are mainly geared towards young kids and educating them. So there's one that she did that was phenomenal, based entirely on like the biosphere. Kind of like the rain cycle and stuff. There's some on space that she was really involved in. So check those out too. She helped create and illustrate almost all of those. And she does personal illustrations on her Instagram. But yeah, aesthetically, really, really inspiring. And I feel like I've been definitely getting some creative juices coming my way from that. So thanks, fam. And also check her out because she's amazing. And last but not least, I recently came across a new kind of smaller RPG that I know I recently shared to this group here. Called Land of Eam that I've just been kind of putting my feelers into. But it's definitely got a little bit of kind of everything we love, or that I love especially, like some mushrooms and fungus inspired things, some crystals, a little bit of crystal punk. But it uses some really new and cool mechanics that I haven't really seen in a lot of other RPGs. And it does still have that same kind of emphasis on storytelling and a little bit less bogged down by kind of fight mechanics and stuff. You actually can gain experience not just on the individual level, but as a group, which I thought was really fascinating. So check that out. There's actually right now, it's about to launch into a Kickstarter, but you can get like a free download of it kind of in the preliminary stages. So if you're just looking for something new and inspiring or some new mechanics that you might want to incorporate into like a neutral system kind of environment, check them out. Amazing. Land of Eam, EEM, if you're Googling it. And keep an eye out for their Kickstarter because I will be probably supporting them.
Heck yeah.
I
Who's
I,
next?
I think to build on your point, Carly, and Danny even did it tonight. Every time you find a new RPG, steal the good stuff. And so it's like, there are good things from Troika, but even tonight where you're like, oh, let's just do what Dungeon World does. There's essentially currency for mundane items. You can steal something and then you've got one currency for that. And I feel like when you were showcasing that game to us, I was like, oh, there are some really cool things that I can see a little bit of D&D here. I can see a little bit of Dungeon World here. I can see a little bit of new stuff here.
Yeah.
So very cool. My inspiration, I've got kind of a catalog of stuff that I feel like when I meet other people with similar interests, I'm just like, can I dump all of this stuff on you? Like all of the good stuff that I've hoarded over the years.
Yeah.
So like last week was the reward and Tales of Elethrion. This week is the God of Arepo, and I think this is a
How do you
Twitter
spell
post.
repo for the people out there, Danny, in case they're trying to look it
Uh,
up?
it is AREPO, and it is the poster is Sad O Euphemist. But anyway, this story is really great, and so it's about, without spoiling anything, it's about a farmer, like a modest farmer, who builds a small temple to a god who's seemingly insignificant. So he's not the god of war or the god of storms or the god of future sight or any of these, very impressive things. He is the god of the crunch of an apple beneath your teeth and the
Oh,
earthworms churning, and the a small little glimpse of a seasonal change or something. But he's an insignificant god, and I love the story because it really showcases how well you can make the seemingly insignificant into something so significant. Like it's
Yeah.
it's I wish that story was longer. I would have just kept reading and reading and reading it. And the premise isn't like the chosen one fights this battle and he is blessed, and it's like a God of War game. This is
yeah.
something totally different, but in the same sphere. So if you've got 5 minutes to read a story, look up the God of Arepo. You will not be disappointed.
Yeah, I don't know how many thousand words it is, but when you finish it, you felt like you just read one really, really solid haiku. Like that really made you, you know what I mean? It's just so
Yeah, it's
pretty.
great.
Like you don't realize how fast it goes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
very nice.
I love it.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, what have you been chewing
No,
on?
we're skipping it this week.
No, but Peter Hahn. Listen, there's this guy called it's on Instagram and it's Peter Hahn Style. Is his at Peter PeterHanStyle, Peter Hahn Style, or possibly Peter Hahn's Tile, but then with tile spelled Tyle. No, but like I think my favorite thing about him is I spent like, I don't know, 2 hours watching his videos because he goes live. I think he goes live on Twitch. By the way, Twitch isn't just video games, which is I know this is breaking news to everybody, but I just thought I'd let you know.
Okay,
For
boomer.
anyone who wasn't aware.
No, but he's phenomenal. So he does ink artwork. He does a lot of like, he gets submissions or he gets requests, and he does a lot of fan art and stuff like that. But man, his videos, I mean, like he goes through every step. He's got these gorgeous ink with watercolor illustrations, and like he's phenomenal. Like the video that I watched, he was starting on the watercoloring, and one of the little watercolor markers was like dripping onto the page, and then he's talking about the art and he's answering questions, and then he sees that and he's like, oh, do you know why that's happening? Here, let me show you. And he starts pulling out his markers and like taking them apart and like trying to get them apart. Well, then the watercolor ones wouldn't come apart. So he pulls out his black ink ones and is like going to take them apart over what he's drawing. And I'm like, oh no, like I was on the edge of your seat, you know?
Yeah.
Well, then he like last minute, he's like, oh, okay. And so he moves that. And then he like all of that. I mean, like it was like 5 minutes just to show everybody watching about this little tiny filter that you can pull out. You can take the pen apart and pull out this little itty bitty filter so that more volume passes through the pen. And like sometimes when people throw the pins away, it's just because there's a little bit of something clogging that filter, and all you have to do is take it out and wash it. So he like went on this huge tangent and then like got
Awesome.
everything back together and kept going. Like it's beautiful. I'm like,
love people like that.
yeah,
So not
I'm
only are
sold.
you deeply inspiring, but full of awesome hacks. Apparently, that's
I can't wait for him to find out how tight we are. He doesn't know it yet, but we're best friends.
Stop
Are you in
shaving
love?
my head
Yeah.
the day of these recordings because I'm just gleaming right now. Everybody at
Well, on that
home,
note,
you're wonderful.
Yeah.
We love you dearly, but my bed is calling me, and I want to sleep at some point in my future.